unfortunately, now we are facing a situation which has been isolated to one particular area.
Tonight, there are increasing numbers of COVID-19 cases showing up in First Nations in Atlantic Canada.
Most of these deaths are from the toxic street supply. So until we actually have a conversation about that, the numbers will keep rising.
Street drugs laced with fentanyl are taking more lives across Canada, and Manitoba is no exception.
Helen Osborne was targeted because the young men that went out that night, there were 4 of them. The intent was to go and find an Indian girl to have sex with.
And 50 years have passed since Helen Betty Osborne was taken from the streets of the Paw, Manitoba. Hello, happy Monday. I'm Melissa Ridgen with your APTN National News. Well, there will be no international support to investigate unmarked graves at residential schools as crimes against humanity. The International Criminal Court has denied a request to investigate Canada and the Catholic Church. Over a dozen lawyers across the country had filed the request following the discovery of 215 unmarked graves in Kamloops. According to an email from Alberta-based lawyer Andrew Fipers, the request was denied because the deaths happened before Canada ratified the Crimes Against Humanity law. A successful outcome could have led to the prosecution of the Catholic Church, the Government of Canada, and any living member who took part in the residential school system. It's Manitoba now, where drug overdoses in the first 6 months of 2021 put the province on pace to set a record for drug-related deaths. As our Daryl Stranger shows us, advocates are saying that this crisis could be less deadly.
I'm always here to remind people that we're talking about loved ones. We're talking about children.
199 people died in the first half of 2021 from drug-related deaths. And if the pace keeps up, advocates say Manitoba will surpass last year's death total of 372. Arlene Last-Kolb is co-founder of Overdose Awareness Manitoba. She says she isn't surprised by the numbers.
There's many reasons that I'm not surprised. One of the reasons I'm not surprised is because of COVID, the effects that it's had on people that use substances. There's been an increase in use of all substances. Also, too, we know that fentanyl is still on the street, and until we address that, we are not going to be able to stop what's happening in here. Most of these deaths are from a toxic street supply, so until we actually have a conversation about that, the numbers will keep rising.
Last-Kolb says safe supply and safe injection sites are a few ways the deaths can be reduced.
I know for a fact that we need a safe consumption site downtown. It's as plain as the nose on your face. I would like to see safe consumption sites all over Manitoba, but what we could do is we could start with our downtown area. We could get ourselves a mobile unit, which means that we can mobilize ourselves as the need comes up. I have to show the importance that this is happening all over Manitoba, that every day I hear of more and more people losing their children. And when I say children, these are adults, these are all ages, but they are always children. They'll always be children to me. So as a mother, I will never stop advocating for what I believe will save lives. These are preventable deaths. You're talking about a toxic street supply. So we know that when people are offered safer substances, they'll take it.
Mitch Bourbonniere is a community advocate who works with numerous organizations within the city of Winnipeg. He also believes safe injection sites are needed.
I absolutely believe we need safe, well-trained, well-staffed, safe injection sites. People are doing it in front of us anyway, and it's like heartbreaking. I'd rather them be in a safe place where they can be looked after, cared for, harm reduction in a safe way, but then also there's the people there to talk to the folks about getting help and getting treatment right there, rather than folks doing this in back alleys.
While he sees many drugs on the streets, Bourbonniere says the issue crosses all walks of life.
This epidemic crosses all walks of life and all social stratas. So it's every demographic is impacted. The families that I've gotten to know that have lost a loved one to overdose come from all walks of life, and This can happen to anyone. Again, no one chooses, to be addicted to intravenous drugs. Like, this is a horrible condition to deal with, that kind of addiction. And it can happen to anyone. So we should, as a province, collectively be concerned about this.
APTN reached out to both the province and the City of Winnipeg for comment, but did not hear back by airtime. Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Well, it's something a First Nation in Southern Ontario has known for years, that air pollution is making them sick. They've recently obtained government pollution data confirming alarming levels of the cancer-causing chemical benzene in the air. The Aamjiwnaang First Nation, located near the city of Sarnia, is an area known as Chemical Valley because of the high number of polluters in the vicinity. Aamjiwnaang has been lobbying the provincial government for air pollution data since 2017. The newly released information forecasts benzene levels in the northern part of the First Nation to be up to 44 times the annual level. The data also shows that higher than acceptable levels of sulfur dioxide exist. Local residents of the First Nation have complained for decades of sickness due to poor air quality. Well, we want to hear what you think about the Ontario government sitting on air quality reports for so long. Here's how you can sound off. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News and join the conversation and see our latest stories. Well, a Wet'suwet'en clan served pipeline builder Coastal GasLink an eviction notice from their hereditary chiefs on Sunday. They've now set up blockades on logging roads near Houston, British Columbia. Gitxsan Nation members also set up a railway blockade in solidarity with the Wet'suwet'en neighbors. APTN's Lee Wilson has the latest.
Wet'suwet'en and supporters are blocking a logging road near Houston, BC. On Sunday, they notified Coastal GasLink that the company had 8 hours to leave the territory. In late September, tensions flared as CGL prepared to drill the natural gas pipeline under the Maurice River. A Wet'suwet'en spokesperson says it was the ongoing work by the company that led to the eviction order.
It was decided that because the work was continuing in other parts of Wet'suwet'en territory, and CASIA upheld their responsibility to ensure that our territories are going to be kept safe, and issued the evacuation order.
The 670-kilometer natural gas pipeline is over one-third built. It will run from northeast BC to a terminal in Kitimat. According to the company, 20 elected First Nations have agreed to allow the pipeline to pass through, but the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs are opposed to any pipelines running through their territory. Yesterday, Coastal GasLink released a public statement in response to the blockades. An enforceable BC Supreme Court injunction is in place, allowing Coastal GasLink to continue safe access in the area. This is the same region where the group has illegally blockaded a Coastal GasLink worksite, in defiance of the BC Supreme Court injunction since September 25th. Coastal GasLink has continued to seek dialogue to resolve the situation. However, to date, these offers have not resulted in any response. Members of the neighboring Gitxsan Nation have set up blockades on a railway near Hazelton in solidarity with Wet'suwet'en. Wickham says their nations are ancient allies, and that the 1997 Delgamuukw Supreme Court decision confirmed their laws existed before Canada was formed. They are enforcing those laws now to protect their territory.
We very much abide by Wet'suwet'en law. That's how we have always governed our people and our territories, and we have a responsibility to ourselves, our children, and all the future generations of Wet'suwet'en people to uphold that law. It's who we are as a people.
An RCMP spokesperson said they are aware of the protest and are monitoring the situation. The 8-hour deadline imposed by the Wet'suwet'en has expired. We will continue to follow this developing story. Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
Great story. Thanks for that, Lee. Well, we need to take a break, but when we come back, we are going to head to the PAW, Manitoba, to mark 50 years since Helen Betty Osborne's murder. Stay with us.
I think things have been worsened. There's so many Indigenous women and girls, even men and boys, are missing and murdered.
After a summer of extreme drought and wildfires, BC is experiencing the opposite extreme weather right now. Heavy rain and intense rain has led to major flooding, mudslides, and a dangerous situation in several regions of that province, from the interior to the Fraser Valley. Starting with Merritt, BC, where the city's 7,000 residents have now been ordered evacuated from their homes and businesses because of dangerous floodwaters after constant heavy rain. These stunning images show the dramatic extent of the flooding. You can see homes, businesses, roads, parking lots all submerged. There's been so much rain, it's been called an atmospheric river, and the rush to get out is leading to chaos on the highways. There are reports that several vehicles have washed off Lougheed Highway because of a rock slide near Agassiz, east of Vancouver. Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth says that crews are working to reach people who are trapped.
Overnight, around 80 to 100 vehicles became trapped between landslides on Highway 7 near Agassiz. Heavy search and rescue teams have been deployed to assist, and we are looking at the possibility of air rescue if needed. High winds may challenge these efforts.
The heavy rain forced some in Abbotsford, BC to leave their neighborhood overnight after conditions became life-threatening.
15 minutes it went from the sides of the streets to the whole street gone, and within an hour it went up to our waist and then up to our shoulders almost in front of our house.
Several creeks have burst their banks, washing out roads and flooding homes. Residents in this Abbotsford neighborhood piled up sandbags along the river in an effort to protect their homes. Well, to the other side of the country now, where COVID has struck several New Brunswick First Nations. That province's public health department has declared COVID outbreaks at 7 First Nations, with 71 cases in total. Outbreak management teams have been sent to conduct contact tracing, and community members are encouraged to get tested. Sidensis, also known as St. Mary's First Nation, they have 13 cases with one band member who's in the hospital currently. However, the community's chief isn't alarmed. Alan Polchis Jr. says that most of the cases are mild and people are recovering at home thanks to over 80% vaccination rate.
We've seen the results that it was working because our bubbles were staying within the bubbles. But unfortunately, now we are facing a situation which has been isolated to one particular area, and working with the public health and getting folks tested seems to be working.
The Alberta government has signed an agreement with the federal government to reduce childcare fees in that province to bring the cost of childcare for children under 6 to just $10 a day by the end of 2026. The feds will provide nearly $4 billion over the next 5 years to help families get back to work. It will also include over 40,000 new nonprofit childcare and early learning spaces. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was in Edmonton today for that announcement.
These past year and a half has illustrated the challenges that families face and the need for childcare. I think one of the things that really came through on this past year and a half is that making sure we have proper support for families, for proper support for young kids that will allow parents to get back to work is unbelievably important.
Alberta's government has secured an agreement with the federal government to ensure that more Alberta parents have access to affordable childcare, and that's a very good thing. This agreement means bringing $3.8 billion tax dollars paid by Albertans to Ottawa back to Albertans to address a key priority for so many families. This means that parents in Alberta will see a reduction in their fees of an average of 50% in early 2022 and will pay an average of $10 a day by 2025-26.
Over the weekend, people gathered in northern Manitoba to honor the life of Helen Betty Osborne. The 19-year-old Cree woman was abducted in the Pas and brutally murdered 50 years ago in one of many cases that exposed racism and indifference towards Indigenous people. It took nearly 2 decades before any justice was delivered, and some feel that too little has changed in that time. Our colleague at CTV, Josh Crabb, reports.
Family, friends, and former classmates held each other for support as they gathered around a monument for Helen Betty Osborne at the former site of Guy Hill Residential School near the Paw. Osborne, who was from Norway House, was a survivor and student here before she started attending classes at a high school in the Paw.
We called her Betty.
Friend Rebecca Ross says Betty, as they called her, wanted to become a teacher. But her dreams and her life ended in a horrific and violent way when she was just 19 years old.
She was never given that chance. I often wonder how many hundreds of students she would have touched.
In the early morning hours of November 13, 1971, after a night out with friends, Osborne was abducted by a group of 4 men in the Paw, sexually assaulted, and driven north of town to Clearwater Lake, where she was brutally murdered, her body dragged into the bush near this pump house, where a memorial still stands today. 50 years later, after a ceremony at the residential school site, people returned to the pump house, walking several kilometers to lay a wreath, flowers, and tobacco at a memorial for Helen Betty, a way of honoring her life and pushing for change.
I think things have been worsened. There's so many Indigenous women and girls, even men and boys are missing and murdered.
The details and circumstances surrounding Osborne's death were examined as part of the Aboriginal Justice Inquiry, which was established in 1988. While police identified the assailants in 1972, it took 16 years before anyone was brought to justice. The inquiry found racism and indifference towards Indigenous people played a role.
Helen Betty Osborne was targeted because the young men that went out that night, there were 4 of them. The intent was to go and find an Indian girl to have sex with.
4 men were involved in her death, but only one, Dwayne Archie Johnston, was convicted of second-degree murder. James Houghton was acquitted at trial. Lee Colgan received immunity from prosecution for his testimony, and Norman Manger was never charged.
Well, people are feeling that there hasn't justice served. You know, there's no justice for Helen Betty.
By honoring her life, friends, family, and advocates hope fewer families have to go through what Helen Betty's did. They're calling on governments to implement all 231 calls for justice stemming from the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls in order to make the change they've been fighting for decades. Josh Crabb, CTV News, The Paw.
Thanks to our friends at CTV for that story. Well, we need to take another break, but still ahead, a swearing-in ceremony for a new member of Parliament is a showcase for Inuit culture.
I really wanted to just share my pride in being Inuk and showing how amazing our culture is with our performers.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Susan Hare from the Michigan First Nation located in Ontario sent us this sunset as seen from the shoreline of Michigan Bay. Send us a photo right to our share at aptn.ca email for the chance to be tomorrow's next photo of the day. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather forecast. We will start off on the east coast where it's going to be cloudy for St. John's, 9 degrees. Sunshine for Fredericton, you're looking at 4. Inukjuak, -8 and sunshine. Kujwak, 0 and snow. Nain, you're getting snow too, -2 degrees. Saguenay, snow for you as well, 0 degrees. Expected Montreal, mix of sun and cloud, and 3 degrees. Ottawa, mix of sun and cloud and 1. North Bay, you're looking at cloud, -1. Sault Ste. Marie, mix of sun and cloud and 2 degrees. -3 and snow for both Kapuskasing and Timmins, 0 and snow for Wawa. Thompson, -5 and snow. Norway House, you're looking for some snow too, -2. Sunshine though for Churchill, -4. 3 with a chance of flurries in Winnipeg and Gimli, 5 with snow expected for Dauphin. 4 and snow in Regina. Snow continues. Further north you go to, 0 for Saskatoon and North Battleford. You're getting snow too. Snow and -15 for Uranium City. L'Orange, snow, -7. Snow continues up in northern Alberta. You got -8 for High Level, -2 in Fort McMurray. 1 with a chance of flurries for Edmonton, 16 in Lethbridge, and cloud expected there. Sunshine for southern BC. That's good news for you with all the rain that have been happening. 4 in Kamloops, 0 in Quesnel, 8 in Campbell River. -5 and snow for Smithers. Dease Lake, -8, snow expected there. Dawson City, -21 with a mix of sun and cloud. Rock River, you're looking at -19 with some snow. Yellowknife, mix of sun and cloud and 11 degrees. Fort Leard and Trout Lake, both sunshine, -12. Polytech, -14 with a mix of sun and cloud. Sax Harbor, snow and -12. Chesterfield, -5 with a chance of flurries. New Yacht, you're looking at some flurries too, -4 degrees. Arctic Bay, snowing, -9. Igloolik, chance of snow and -11. Kenite, -7 with a chance of snow. The swearing-in ceremony for new MPs is usually pretty low-key. You can take an oath, sign your name, and basically get right to work in Ottawa. Nunavut's new MP, the NDP's Laurie Idlut, she was offered a chance to swear her oath remotely from Nunavut, and as Kent Driscoll reports, the swearing-in became a showcase for Inuit culture.
When she opted to hold her swearing-in ceremony in Iqaluit, and not Ottawa, Laurie Idlut opened up a world of possibilities to localize the ceremony. This is a hulik, the traditional Inuit lamp that was used for heat all winter long. It burns seal oil, slowly. This is often how you start a meeting in Nunavut, with a ceremonial kulik lighting. It wasn't just the ceremony that was Nunavut unique. Check out the boots on Idlut. Yes, that is polar bear fur. Throat singing may get all the attention, but there's a long tradition of singing in Inuktitut without throat sounds, as Elisipi Tatigak Avingak showed the crowd. But was there throat singing? Of course there was throat singing, provided by Kristen Kaunak and Alexia Alenga. Matthew Nukinguk rounded out the culture on display with his drum dancing. After the performances, Idlut signed her oath on a Zoom call with Ottawa and was officially Nunavut's new MP.
I really wanted to just share my pride in being Inuk and showing how amazing our culture is with our performers.
Parliament begins next week and Idlut will be needed in Ottawa. For now, Nunavut's new MP is surrounding herself with her culture before bringing the people's business to the capital. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
What a great way to end the newscast to kick off your week. We're all out of time here at APTN News. We're always thankful to you for taking the time to join us. If you've missed anything lately, you can catch up on the APTN News app or on our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Melissa Ridgen. You have a great night.